Broadcasting live, this is the Handicappers Report, brought to you by the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany, and CapitalOTBBet.com, the premier online wagering site in New York State. CapitalOTBBet.com. Sign up today.
Handicapping coming to you live from the backstretch of Saratoga Race Course. I'm Anthony Mormino, along with Seth Merrill. What I thought would be a 10.5-month absence turned out to be only a 9-month absence, almost to the day. I think, what was closing day, September 3rd last year, but the 4-day Belmont Stakes Racing Festival at Saratoga. And if you don't remember, the last week, the locals week last year was glorious, and I'm here to report it's more glorious today. Seth, good morning.
Yeah, as I drove in, I thought, we're starting our first day here at Saratoga. I thought, man, there's a little too much headroom there, fellas.
At least we're both in it.
So I'm driving in, I'm thinking, a beautiful July morning. I kick off the Saratoga meet, and then I realized, oh yeah, it's June.
A month
June
early.
morning.
I mean, so when the dust settles, what used to be the August place to be will now have been a June, July, August, September place to be, which is a great thing. I just wish I was 24, not nearly 61, but I cannot affect that. It's going to be sensational. I mean, the buzz, whether it's locally, what I experience in my everyday life, and on Twitter, and obviously it's one of the great sporting venues of the world. It gets an American classic, and I know this is odd, to say, but I do think, in a singular way, the 1.25 miles makes it a better race. I mean, I think the 12 furlongs. I was actually thinking. Tell me what you think of this thought. If there's not a Triple Crown on the line, they should always run at 1.25 miles.
I will toss out Teresa Gennaro, if you haven't seen it yet, did a really nice article in the Gazette, and it's worth looking up, where she looked at the fact that if you look back in the history of the Belmont, including the first 2 Triple Crown winners, I think, venue and distance hasn't been always Belmont Park, always 1.5 miles. And so people are kind of asterisk. We have to, it's all different. And if you look at it historically, it hasn't always been Belmont Park, hasn't always been 1.5 miles. So I get the tradition that in recent decades it's been there, but it doesn't bug me that it's up here at 1.25 miles. I mean, I get the tradition and everything, but I'm perfectly happy with the way it is this year.
I don't have any. I mean, it's been 1.5 miles for a very long time, except 'tis the law. And I've said this before. There are no trivia questions allowed to be brought up that concern 2020. You're never allowed to bring up Belmont run before. But previous to that, 95 out of 100 editions of the Belmont were 1.5 miles. In our lifetime, other than 'tis the law, how many people you think bet the Belmont when it wasn't at 1.5 miles?
Yeah, no.
Certainly. What I thought was interesting that nobody brought up was, for 5 years while the old Belmont was being knocked down, they did run 1.5 miles at Aqueduct, and Aqueduct's the same 1.1 miles circumference at Saratoga, but they made the decision to not start on the turn. My math tells me to be at the 3/8 pole, right? So, which is the apex of the turn. But and I don't think I've ever seen one, Seth. But so Damascus was the last horse to win the Belmont Stakes at Aqueduct, because in '68, the 100th celebration, they went back to Belmont, and Stage Door Johnny won the 100th renewal of the Belmont. But I've never seen Damascus Belmont Stakes victory, one of the great horses of all time. And that would have been at Aqueduct at 12 furlongs. But it's going to be, I think it makes for an infinitely better horse race at 12 furlongs. And I think trainers, remember I said last year with Jen Antonucci, I said, you win that 12 furlong race, you almost set yourself up for an L prepping for the Travers. She took the pass.
Yeah, no,
and she won. She took longer to bring her horse back.
I couldn't pull
I
the
loved
trigger,
it. I
but
was like,
she did a great job.
She did.
Speaking of Jenna Antonucci, I think it's tonight, Putnam Place. There's a meet and greet with Jenna Antonucci. I think that's around 5 or so. You can check online. So keep that in mind. We'll talk in a little bit across the street at the National Museum of Racing. Tom Durkin will have a talk looking at the Belmont Stakes he's covered over the years. And then, of course, there's the big concert downtown tonight. So, yeah, when you brought up Jenna, she's going to kind of kick off the evening if you want to go down. As I say, it's Putnam Place. If you look online, you can get the exact time there. Talking about the excitement level, if last night was any indication, I was on the panel over at the National Museum of Racing. Benefited the therapeutic horses of Saratoga organization, local organization that has some retired race horses, benefits the horses, benefits the people, locally based organization. But Donna Brothers moderated. I was on the panel with Maggie and Acacia. We talked Belmont Stakes. But again, with the excitement level, standing room only. It was a really nice crowd last night. And I think that gives an indication of the excitement level up here. And I'm going to head down to the concert this evening. And from talking to people, it sounds like that's going to be a popular event as well. So looking forward to it.
If I said Donna Brothers, Belmont Stakes, Tom Durkin, what's your reply?
I don't know.
I think the first Belmont Stakes Tom Durkin called as the Naira guy was Hansel. Wasn't he trained by Frankie Brothers?
Oh, okay. All right.
I think those green and yellow blocks.
That would
Jerry
be that's
Bailey.
more in your ballpark. I would have to look up the list of winners and whatnot. That's what that Albert Einstein. He didn't know his own phone number. Somebody said, "What? You don't know?" He said, "No, I don't clutter up my brain with things I can look up." So I'm going the Einstein category.
Okay.
Pretty these days.
He probably had physics covered though.
Yeah.
Since that was his specialty and horse racing is yours. So where is this analogy going?
It's also a little bit different than that.
He probably had the periodic table of elements
up there in his brain.
mastermind.
He has like the theory of relativity.
Right, and you're wondering about the. I think that's the case, but I mean, the weather is once again. I mean, this is.
No, it's gorgeous.
Perfect. Some interesting things. Clare Court is not open. They haven't even harrowed it. The gates are up over here. You can't park. So it's going to be different, but it's going to be great. And the
there's
cards.
some kind of production trailer here, which isn't usually here. I guess it's
Yes.
part of the Fox broadcast. They're not
would
usually out here in the backstretch.
guess
of the
that's-
but on the front side, they have a production setup. I mean, normally on even big broadcast days, they have a couple of trailers, but they have a whole slew. So I'm expecting.
Well, as I've said, that as much as we rightfully so have glorified Saratoga for really, almost 50 years, this is an American classic here also. I mean, this is Seth and I are in the trenches daily, but there's really for the, I've said this, I really think that in the casual sports fan, Breeders' Cup is my favorite thing in horse races. Greatest 2 days of betting. That it's just a triple crown. I don't think the Breeders' Cup, it's in the autumn. You got football. It's just too crowded. But in the spring, it's really baseball and us. And there's 3 great races. I think I'm about to get yelled at first time all year. My boss here. No, I'm not kidding. But I mean, this is the Belmont Stakes.
And I'll give you a little line up here for folks who are, planning to come up over the next few days, post times and whatnot. First of all, there is the concert tonight, and I'm just looking. Things are going to kick off.
I think the street is closed at 6.
Kicks off at 6. There's going to be a couple bands before Blues Traveler. Kicks off at 6 with Tops of Trees, and then the Pat McGee Band at 7. Blues Traveler at 8. That's downtown, out by the city center, so the far end of Broadway for the concert tonight. That should be fun. Tomorrow, if you're coming to the track, it's an 11 a.m. open for the gates, 12:50 post time for a 10-race program. That's tomorrow, Thursday. And Thursday is also, this is kind of interesting, Thursday, Belmont Gold Cup, And the Belmont Gold Cup is going to be a winning year for the Melbourne Cup. And I wonder if somebody's going to pick up and go. That'd be great if they did.
Bring your tie tomorrow.
And my top hat but I think. Oh, and also with the tie-in, the Melbourne Cup is here. You can get your picture taken by the Melbourne Cup tomorrow between 1:30 and 3.
Very understated trophy.
And
very similar to the Ryder Cup trophy.
Yeah,
it's very understated.
And again, you can
get you're gonna wear your Victoria Racing Club tie
tomorrow.
Maybe that was the joke earlier, and you just kept going. I was you're gonna wear your tie because we have a new audience, a larger audience than we typically have.
Yeah, that's Matt. I think you're right.
I went to Melbourne
and brought me back a tie.
A tie,
a good-looking tie too. And as you said,
beautiful.
The box was also very.
Box was probably $18 itself. You almost didn't get the box. You almost got the tie in a Macy's box or something.
Throw it at me.
But I don't know how it's going to work. See, the problem I have with the Melbourne Cup, because I'm going, is it's nearly always Tuesday after the Saturday. And if you haven't ever flown to Australia, you miss a whole day. When I went, I missed Thursday, January, I think, 16th. So if I left LAX, it's at Del Mar, I'd have to drive up. The flight leaves at about 11, and I get there Monday, rather tired, and the race is on Tuesday. So there's really no wiggle room from the Breeders' Cup to the Melbourne Cup. And I told Seth, it's beautiful. I mean, it's just stunningly beautiful. Melbourne in the background. And you just have to know on Melbourne Cup Day with it full, it just has to be a place I want to get to. Is this the Mr. Bond's flotilla? His armada?
I had to stop briefly for
his first wave? I think this is the second wave of
because he
James
came zipping
Bond,
by in the car afterwards.
James and Tina Bond.
For folks who aren't familiar, maybe watching for the first time, the Bond Barn is down the street here.
We see him every day.
They walk up every day, and we'll wave to Jim and Tina and the family.
Let
me just keep up. Friday, 10:30 opening of the gates here on Friday. 12 race card that'll kick off at 12:20. That's Friday. Saturday, 9 a.m. gates open. 14 race card. 10:45 post time on Saturday. There's also a photo fashion contest on Saturday.
Are you in? Wear one of those big ties.
$1,000 first prize, 500 second, 250 third. That'll be 1 to 3 o'clock. The Jock Silk Porch. That's Saturday, and then Sunday, New York Showcase Day should be a lot of fun. We'll hit on that over the next couple of days. 11 a.m. post time, 10 race program, 11 a.m. gates open, 10 race program, 12:50 post time on Sunday.
If we don't get our man in, we're both going to lose our Hall of Fame votes.
That's right. We're going to have Brien Bouyea come up and just talk a little bit about what's coming up this weekend and early summer over at the National Museum of Racing and Hall of Fame. So stick around for that. We'll be back in a few.
And faithful summer crowd with the finest authentic Italian recipes. Classic Italian dishes made with the freshest ingredients, served in a home-like setting. Some things have changed in the last 102 years, but not Pinnell's commitment to the finest in Italian cuisine. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, just minutes from the track.
The race for savings is going on now at DePaula Chevrolet. Pick your Chevy, pick your payment, and DePaula delivers. Or every Chevy, 0 down payment, 0 first payment, 0 security.
So come join the family and think DePaula for all your automotive needs.
Saratoga Race Course.
Welcome back to it's Handicappers Report, and we originally wanted Brien in Racing Across America, but man, it's a busy week, and so you had things going on between 10 and 11. But I wanted you in because Brien, of course, is with the National Museum of Racing and Hall of Fame. They have some nice events coming up, including one tonight that I wanted to promote, so I wanted to get you in here this morning. Brien Bouyea from the National Museum of Racing. Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
Very good. And before we get started, Museum of Racing, of course, you were with the Saratogian for a while, and now you write for other publications about horse racing, and also local publication. You do a lot of horse racing history as well. So give us your thoughts. When you sat down, you kind of talked about it surreal. I agree, but what are your thoughts on Belmont at Saratoga?
It's remarkable. I mean, it's something that, I was talking to a couple of my former colleagues at the Saratoga the other day, and we're like, we could have never imagined something like this happening in our lifetime. But the town's rolled out the red carpet, and Ira's done an amazing job getting everything prepared. And the race cards are going to be incredible. I mean, just looking at what they've prepared over the next few days, it's an amazing opportunity that we're going to have for 2 years, maybe 3, who knows? Yeah. But really excited about it, and everybody's just putting in 100% effort to make this a special few days here at Saratoga.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and at the draw the other night. And by the way, at 10 o'clock, Racing Across America, I picked up some interviews at the draw Monday night. Todd Pletcher, Chad Brown, Ken McPeak, Danny Gargan. Stay tuned for that a little bit later on. But when Chad got up on the stage after the draw to talk a little bit about Sierra Leone, he said something to the fact of, well, when I was a kid and just getting into the game and getting started, I didn't really imagine I'd have a chance to win a Belmont Saratoga as a local guy.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. And you think about how the Triple Crown is evolving and changing in the next few years. And, they're going to run the 150th Preakness at Pimlico next year, but then they're going to have a couple years that look like it's going to be at Laurel. So imagine a few years ago, Churchill Downs has put a couple $100 million into it. You're going to have a new Belmont Park. You're going to have a new Pimlico. So it's really exciting times for these big races in America.
Yeah, and I will also say I saw it on YouTube yesterday, I think. WRGB, Liz Bishop went down, talked with David O'Rourke in front of being in the process of being torn down Belmont, talking a little bit about the new Belmont. It's worth pulling that up if you haven't seen the models and whatnot. Just a little 5-minute piece. But again, you can find that on that WRGB YouTube channel. All right, Brien, again, pulled you in here because the Museum of Racing, I was there last night. We had a great event at the museum. Thanks for hosting us. Donna Brothers moderated. I was on a panel talking Belmont Stakes with Acacia and Maggie. Acacia, Courtney Clement, and Maggie Wolfendale Morley. And it was really well attended. It's always great to be over there at the museum for an event like that. But you have some things coming up this weekend that I wanted to just get us into the early summer a little bit. So just give us what's coming up this weekend.
Yeah, so tonight we've got a special event, 6 o'clock. The legendary Tom Durkin is going to be in the house. And for anybody who knows him, he's the voice of a generation for racing, called races for 43 years. And was the voice of New York racing for a quarter of a century. And so tonight he's going to talk about some of his favorite, most iconic Belmont memories, calling those races. And, Tom has, he'll joke about the fact that he never got to call a Triple Crown. Came close a couple times, but he called some remarkable races with some remarkable stories behind him. And Jeff Carl is going to be hosting that with him tonight. Jeff, former jockey, and has done a lot of programming with Capital OTB and a lot of other media stuff. So it's going to be kind of set up like a inside the actor's studio, kind of a one-on-one. We're going to show the races. He's got a selection of these races played out that we're going to get to see, and the audience is going to have a chance to interact and get the stories kind of behind these legendary races. So 6 o'clock at the museum should be a lot of fun tonight. Our event tomorrow morning, unfortunately, is sold out. We've got a farm tour out at Old Tavern Farm, but our other big event is Saturday morning. We've got the Saturday morning social program that we have traditionally throughout the regular race week, but we're offering free admission to the museum on Belmont Stakes morning, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. A lot of great programming there. We've got Mike Beer and Dan Illman from Daily Racing Forum doing a handicapping seminar. We've got a program from the Grant Cottage up in Wilton. Ben Kemp, who's the site interpreter, is going to do a program talking about President Grant and his horses. Grant raced thoroughbreds under an assumed name. Obviously, with the war effort, he had horses that were involved. So he's going to be dressed up as Grant, interpreting in period. We've got Greg Montgomery is going to be there, the artist.
Oh, great.
He's got a Belmont Stakes poster. He's known for a Travers poster, but with the Belmont coming here, he had to do something like that. So he's got a unique poster. Coffee, donuts, water given out, a lot of exciting stuff throughout the day. over the next few days, not on Saturday morning, but over the next couple of days, if you want to see the Belmont Stakes trophy, it's going to be in the museum in the lobby. So if you want to come over for a selfie with the August Belmont trophy, you're certainly welcome to. And we got gift shop discounts on the Sunday. So a lot going on throughout the week. So we're excited about it.
You talked about the farm tour being sold out, but at the end of the season last year, I had Jim and Tina Bond on the show, and the show ended, and we sat around and talked for the better part of an hour probably. And one of the things we talked about, the farm tours, I think they were kind of added to the breakfast situation over here last year, maybe a couple of years ago. But they were really thrilled with the farm tours. And it said it had a great turnout up at their farm, and there was a lot of interest that was generated in visiting the farm. That generates interest into racing, so they were enthusiastic about it. And you said the one tomorrow, is it tomorrow?
I'm sorry, it's Friday morning.
Friday morning. Yep. You might have said Friday. Sold out. But Songhill, the Bond Farm, is coming up a little bit later.
Yeah, we've got that in July, right at the start of the race meet. And our schedule is we've got one of these a month, at least one. A couple times we got two a month. But we kind of modeled this program after what they do in Kentucky. Giving people the access to meet stallions, to meet mares, to meet foals. It's a great opportunity. Old Tavern was one of our participants in the Full Patrol program we had a couple of years ago, and we're going to be visiting Songhill, the Bond Farm. We're going out to old friends at Cabin Creek. We have Sugar Plum Farm here. We have the therapeutic courses of Saratoga that we're visiting. They were the beneficiary last night of the handicapping seminar. So just an opportunity to visit these farms, to learn about the people who work there. It's not something you get a lot of access to, so it's great to be able to bring people out. They can learn about horses, learn about how they're cared for, learn about the breeding and what these animals mean to the sport and the industry. So they're great programs, and you can find all about them on our website. But we offer them all through October.
Excellent. And I put together some shots of the museum and some of the exhibits. Sent them in last night, so maybe the guys can kind of fold through that. Just give us some general thoughts for folks who haven't ever been to the museum. If you haven't, it is literally right across the street, Union Avenue, from the racetrack. Highly recommended. But for folks who may want to visit, talk a little bit generally about the museum, days and hours as well.
Yeah, so since we were into June now, from now through Labor Day, through the end of the traditional Saratoga meet, we're open 9 to 5 every day of the week. So as Seth mentioned, we're right across the street from the track. We've got a lot of exciting programs. The biggest thing, our biggest attraction, is the Hall of Fame, which we renovated a couple years ago. It includes a 16-minute signature film called What It Takes: Journey to the Hall of Fame. It's a 360-degree experience, surround sound around you. We did interviews with several Hall of Fame members, trainers, jockeys, farms at different spots. We went to farms in Kentucky and in Florida. We visited Santa Anita and Keeneland and Churchill Downs, obviously filmed at Saratoga. And the storyline is about, the love for the horses, the love for the thoroughbred, and what it takes to be that 1% commitment to get to that rare honor of being in the Hall of Fame. And, we've got we've updated the film a couple times. We've got so many other interviews that we're going to keep, keeping it fresh over the next few years. So that's kind of the key experience in the museum. But after the film, we have 9 interactive stations. The Hall of Fame is now a completely digital experience. So you can play race replays. You can look at photos of different Hall of Fame members, artwork that's on there. Our old Hall of Fame was very nice and very traditional, but you look at those plaques of some of these horses from the early 1900s, and people have never seen an image of these horses. Now we've got thousands, literally, of photos in these galleries. You can play race clips. You can see Secretariat's stretch run of the Belmont. You can see American Pharoah winning the Triple Crown, Holy Bull winning the Travers. You can see some of the videos that we do for the Hall of Fame induction. You can learn, a 3-minute video about Mary Lou Whitney and her career. So it's an amazing experience, and the digital aspect of it gives us the flexibility to be able to constantly update it too. So, Mike Smith, perfect example. He gets in the Hall of Fame, and his plaque did not have any recognition of a horse named Zenyatta that was key to his career, or winning a Triple Crown, events that happened after. But perfect example, D. Wayne Lucas goes out and wins the Preakness on a Saturday. On Monday morning, that accomplishment is reflected in his plaque. So we update it constantly, and it's really relevant information. But beyond just that, we have so much stuff related to probably the finest collection of artwork in the world related to thoroughbred racing, an incredible collection of trophies, exhibits that change all the time. Our exhibits this summer that we're really excited about is we have one about the legacy of Paul Mellon, who was just an incredible figure in the racing and breeding world. We're also going to be honoring the legacy of Ruffian this summer too. So a lot of stuff we're really excited about coming up.
Yeah, A, if you've never been, get over. B, if you haven't been since it's been updated, particularly that Hall of Fame room, get over. The movie's fabulous. We showed the shot at the end there. There surround screen comes down in the middle of the room. There's surround all over. The movie is fabulous. But yeah, the interactive, the plaques were great. For years, it was the traditional Hall of Fame kind of thing with the plaques. But as you say, it had the career up to when the plaque was made, and then it was stuck there. Now it's interactive. It gets updated, and it's a big kind of video screen that you can touch screen, and as you say, watch the replays and whatnot. It really brings the whole experience into the 21st century, but it's a lot of fun.
And we still give commemorative plaques to the inductees during the ceremony each year, but this was really something that our board, studied for a number of years, and we wanted it to be. We were kind of running out of space, is what was going on with the plaques. I mean, we're at a point now when we include this year's class, we're going to have 487 inductees in the Hall of Fame, and with limited space, you keep adding to that, and we kind of get close, but. And we're in a digital era, I mean, everybody's got a smartphone, everybody's got a tablet. They want to look at these experiences and be able to touch and go right to where they want at that moment. So it's been a big hit, and we're really excited about the way it's turned out.
Again, highly recommend popping over and checking it out. As I say, it is literally right across the street from the racetrack, very conveniently located. Nice parking lot in the back, offers you very good access as well. You kind of alluded to it, the Hall of Fame. Let's talk a little bit about this year's class. Joe Rosario, gun runner, Justify, the contemporary entrants, and then there are some from the Historic Review Committee as well, but they will be inducted on Friday, August 2nd. And it's just become a hugely popular event. And now you guys hold it over basic Tipton, and it's standing room only.
They're a great venue for it. It's the perfect size. For a number of years before I worked at the museum, the induction ceremony was held in a tent in our parking lot, back in the day. But this is it's a really professional program, and Phasic Tipton's been a great partner, and we've been fortunate enough to work with the Keeneland Broadcast Division in the last several years, and the videos that they put together for us just makes it a tremendous presentation. And like you said, it's one of those things that it's one of those days that everybody's excited about. We're honoring these amazing achievers, and this year we've got a Triple Crown winner, Justify, going in. We've got Gun Runner, one of the greatest male horses of the 21st century so far, and Joel Rosario. I mean, what can you say about him? Eclipse Award winner. He's 39 years old. He's already fourth all-time in career earnings. Just a great guy too. And you mentioned the historic inductees. We've got some really ones that go far back this year. We looked at Historic Review. We kind of broke it up into segments, and this year we just looked at pre-1900 candidates. So we got Aristides, the winner of the first Kentucky Derby, going in. Lake Comte, the only horse ever to beat Lexington, and Abe Hawkins, who was one of the great pre- and post-Civil War jockeys. And that goes along with our pillars of the turf too. Joe Hirsch, Clement L. Hirsch, and Harry Guggenheim. So a class of 9 that we're really excited about and looking forward to honoring this summer.
Yeah, and again, that the ceremony will be Friday, August 2nd. When the traditional meet starts, we'll get you in again to talk a little bit about that and promo that a little bit, because again, it's a really fun event if you've never been over to enjoy that. And it is a nice class of inductees certainly coming up. And I like the historic. I'm glad you brought that up. They're now parsing out certain. I like that idea of looking at a certain time period.
Yeah, so we kind of had a discussion with our Historic Review Committee, and we looked at all history from all the way back to the colonial era up until within the past 25 years, which is the cutoff date to be considered a modern candidate. And the committee, I guess, was kind of having some thoughts about how do we compare a horse like Aristides, who raced in the 1870s, versus one that raced in the 1960s. Different tracks, different conditions, races that existed then that don't exist now. So we kind of broke it down per era. Next year, we're going to look at 1900 up till 1960. So they're kind of being compared just in their respective eras. And I think it's going to allow for a better process.
Yeah, so I like that. So again, Brien Bouyea from the National Museum of Racing and Hall of Fame. I wanted him on this morning so we could get you lined up for the weekend. And again, just quickly take us through the weekend. What's coming up?
Yeah, so tonight, 6 o'clock, Tom Durkin, Belmont Stakes Memories, hosted by Jeff Carl. No tickets needed. You can come. It's a $10 fee if you're not a member, free if you're a museum member. So 6 o'clock, just come on to the museum. We've got a gala at Canfield Casino tomorrow night. It's a museum benefit, but that is also sold out. The Friday tour is sold out as well, but we're open 9 to 5 every day, and then the Saturday morning social will be 9 a.m. to 11 on Saturday. A lot of stuff going on. There might be a couple special guests there that we can't quite announce right now for logistical reasons, but 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. free admission before you come over to the track on Saturday on Belmont Stakes Day. So it's going to be a great day.
You hinted special guests. I would advise people to put it on their calendar. It should be fun over at the museum.
Absolutely.
You mentioned Mike Beer and Dan Hillman. They're great as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So great handicapping seminar, giveaways. It's going to be a lot of fun all morning.
Always a great visit when you're headed to Saratoga to swing by the National Museum of Racing and Hall of Fame. So, Brien, we appreciate your visit this morning. Good luck on the weekend. And as I say, we'll get you plugged in to traditional meet as well to talk a little bit about July and August also. But appreciate the visit this morning.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, we'll take a break. And when we come back, we'll get back to the Handicappers Report and talk a little bit about some of the stake section. Really good stake section coming up over the next few days. Stay tuned. It only takes one upset to make history, and now you can be part of Saratoga's long tradition at the Dark Horse Mercantile. The Dark Horse Mercantile offers a carefully curated selection of clothing, gifts, and home decor, from one-of-a-kind vintage racing memorabilia to select brands like Barber and Under Armour, as well as exclusive Dark Horse branded merchandise. So celebrate the Dark Horse in all of us at the Dark Horse Mercantile, downtown Saratoga, where the smart bet is always the Dark Horse.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Oops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Me? You?
You can go.
Okay. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. See, this is why we're here today, getting all the kinks out. See, I'm really here. You can see us. I guess it was a good day. Good day to wear bold stripes. I guess so you know that I'm here. My mother said to me when I was a kid, Frank Sinatra was so skinny behind the mic. They used to have him hold his arms out so people would know he's there. Me, I got the bold striped shirt so you can see that. You can see the lips moving.
We were talking with Brien as we went. We were talking about the Belmont, who we liked and whatnot.
Yes.
And you mentioned, the the move in the current year going Derby to Belmont. Kentucky Derby starters have won 12 of the last 20. And I just pulled this up online a couple days ago. 12 of the last 20 editions of the Belmont starters. So 12 of the last 20, but 10 of those 12 went Derby to Belmont. Skip the Preakness.
Yeah, I just had, there's, we were talking quickly in the break. It was just anecdotal to me. Matter of fact, I was very comfortable with what I said. You've confirmed it with that, which is going to save me about 2 hours because I'm not going to do the legwork now that you have. But the 5-week gap is so attractive to trainers. I can remember Todd Pletcher a couple years ago when they asked him, not counting his Derby winners, he's barely sent a handful to the Preakness that ran in the Derby. And he was just like, my program and owners, et cetera. And it really got me to thinking. And then you listen to, go back to Bobby Frankel and certainly Chad and everything, how they like this, real gap. Remember there was a while there with Todd Pletcher, his Jim Dandy winners weren't performing well in the Travers. Then they made the gap and Flower Alley. Bingo. First year, I think it was a 4-week gap. Todd wins with Flower Alley, Jim Dandy, I believe, and then the Travers, et cetera. So it really struck me that these horses, we're not talking 106 to 1 shots that skip, but the Sierra Leone type model, you really start to think that they have an edge by skipping the Preakness, that they come really sharp.
And again, top of the hour, you'll see these Racing Across America, although we may go a little longer with this because we had Brien in. But regardless, Racing Across America, I caught up with Chad, Todd, Kenny McPeak, and Danny Gargan at the draw on Monday night. Chad specifically says, how Sierra Leone did about it. He said, came out of the Derby, and I get the 5 weeks, which is to my plan. It's to my program. So he specifically mentions.
I'll tell you, I know it should be a small part of the mix. And I've said this. I've really settled on this idea, Seth, with the Triple Crown. I think spreading it apart. I know you brought up holding the attention of the American. I will say this. If it wasn't in Saratoga, I don't know how many people would have asked me who I liked in the Belmont. Not a single person asked me who I liked in the Preakness in the 2 weeks between. So I'm not going to – and I said this on Twitter. I actually got probably the most positive feedback. This is my point. And I think I do not think there's an argument. There would be better horse races because the best horses would show up.
I've said I can go either way.
Right.
I can stick traditional or I can look at but the argument that, it's supposed to be tough plays into yours, and it's like, I think it would be hard.
And I'm trying to think, maybe I'm wrong with this, but Empire Maker, which is 20 plus years ago, 21 years ago, strikes me as Bobby Frankel, couldn't train Empire Maker the way he wanted Derby week. He had the full hoof. And he just, he loses a heartbreaking to Funny Side. He's like, we'll just skip the Preakness. And I have to tell you, I mean, the story for Funny Side was so great, but I think many people, and if it had been a clear, fast racetrack, I think Empire Maker would have slaughtered him. But I think people were like, he's gonna crush him. He's gonna skip, and Funny Side ran, I don't know, maybe the highest Spire speed figure you ever got was the Preakness. And there was Empire Maker, and I'm gonna kind of think it was Empire Maker the chalk that day. That's how confident people were. But he's the horse I think of that was like, listen, who in the old days you finish second in the Derby, you don't go to the Preakness. But Bobby Frankel's like, we'll see you at the Belmont.
And we talked about, for people who are new to the game, I mean, Wood Memorial used to be 2 weeks before the
126 pounds.
The Derby. Yeah. We'll talk some of the stakes, but before we do that, just to get slightly off topic, but I'm going to talk about a stake because we mentioned it on Saturday. See City of Troy, and they have some Derby. Oof.
No one pronounces it that way.
Derby?
Yeah, no one says it's spelled that way, but it's like Brett Favre. I have to say.
And did you read after I saw on Twitter, somebody said he might come to Saratoga. Did you see that?
I did not see that.
Then I went to look back and I couldn't find it again. I'm sure I saw it.
But I have to tell you, it's one of the great training jobs by one of the probably 3 greatest trainers in modern times, that after his dud in the Guineas, he comes back and just, I mean, kudos. If City of Troy, Aidan O'Brien and Coolmore, after a dud in the Guineas, just was powerful Saturday morning. What was it, 11:30 our time?
Yeah, we talked about it in preview a little bit in the morning, and then at 11.
Just a dynamic performance that you're really like, I don't know. I mean, you didn't see that coming.
And you talk about differences in 21st century and whatnot. The differences between the way we do it and the way they do it over there, I find interesting as well, because the Derby, 1.5 miles, it was career start number 5. And the second start of this year for City of Troy. And there were a couple of more lightly raced courses in the field as well.
Can you fire that up?
Yeah.
Go to, I almost said Equidale, which would be fine. And go to Equibase. You're talking about the 5th start for City of Troy. Oh, I guess you got it.
No, I got it.
Okay.
I get a weird.
I think it's one of the great. You talk about horses that go. So go to the. Yeah, you got it. So click Lamtara, L-A, very phonetically spelled. This is one of the great. Now you have to understand something. This is 1995. L-A.
I spelled it right?
L-A-M-M.
Oh, M-M.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Double M-T-A-R-R-A.
Yeah, I had 2
I'm
R's.
sorry. So this is 1995. We're coming up on almost the 30th anniversary, and when Seth just brought up City of Troy, 5th start. So go to results. Look at that. Just read out loud. It won't take long.
Race number 1 in the career was a stakes race and a win. Race number 2 was the Epsom Derby.
Oh, wait a second. You already buried the lead. He had one race as a juvenile, right?
Yeah.
He won the Epsom Derby as a seasonal debut.
As a
second start.
But his first start as a 2-year-old was a stakes race.
Yes.
Then he goes on to win the Queen George and Queen Elizabeth Grade 1 in the 3rd start, and then the Arc in the 4th start.
So my point is, in his second career start, nearly 30 years ago, Lamtara makes his 3-year-old debut and wins the Epsom Derby. Now, here's a better thing.
At 1.5 miles. Again, that's
uphill.
That's
the old.
Again, it was.
I walked to school uphill both ways.
It was the Belmont Stakes kind of a date. Can you
imagine
imagine an American horse doing 1 mile?
No, that's right. Belmont? And now here's the better thing. Now I am of the opinion now, mostly because of weather, that the King George is the greatest race in the world, in Europe, I should say. But the Arc really is. But the King George. So he won the Epsom Derby. The King George, that's usually when 3-year-olds take on elders. He beats them. And the Arc, the greatest race in the world, let's say, right? Not the European Horse of the Year. Could you imagine a horse winning, let's say, the Derby, so that'll be the Derby equal. The King George, I have to honestly say, the Breeders' Cup Classic is like the equivalent. And then the Breeders' Cup Turf is the Arc. And that horse isn't Horse of the Year in America. Lamtara was not Horse of the Year. Ridgewood Pearl, the miler. It's one of the greatest. I'm like, are you kidding me? He won the 3 greatest races in Europe, and he got nothing. But imagine that. Yeah, I'm a little started too. Go down, win the Arlington, Washington Futurity. Yeah, we'll see you at the Belmont, and backhand all of you. Lamtara. It's one of the great. And I just thought of it when you said City of Troy, 5th career start. Lamtara had 4, and 3 of them are the Epsom Derby, the King George, and the Arc.
They do it different over there.
They
do. Amazingly. All right. The weekend is going to include 24 stakes races, purses totaling $10.25 million, highlighted obviously by the $2 million Grade 1 Belmont Stakes. We can take a look at some of the action here. Tomorrow, nice stakes day. The Jersey Girl will kick things off. Nice field. These are 3-year-old fillies going 6. Manama Gold is interesting for Todd Pletcher, having started the career over in Dubai and moves over into the Pletcher barn now. But this is a sibling to the very, very talented overcharged, who was 14 for 17 and had that really gutsy win on Derby weekend. So nice way to kick off the stakes section.
I mean, it's we had the Jaipur. I used to love the commercial. Naira used to run the only graded stakes race sprint on the turf. Now it's like the game changed completely. I used to love when it was 7/8. They ran it on the Widener, because it was such a unique race in America. A 7 furlong, 1-turn turf sprint, and I thought it gave horses a chance that really, couldn't go a mile 2 turns, and we really hadn't, except for Monmouth Park in my mind, we really didn't have 5 furlong turf sprints in the United States, and certainly not stakes quality. So I always thought it was a great race.
They've become very popular now.
Yes.
The Astoria also tomorrow, the 2-year-old fillies. They're fun races, but again, they're 21st century now. Although we're early enough in the season, you get these 2-year-old stakes races, you get in July and August, and they've only had 1 or 2 starts, and you go back a ways. They would have maybe started a little more, but now they're kind of non-winners of one other than kind of situations. So,
I don't have
but
data.
It's a fun race.
I don't have data on the Astoria that I can think of off the top of my head, but I know the Tremont or Tremont. I never get it right.
I never know.
Supposedly, like the greatest 2-year-old of like the 19th century. Because I'm like, we couldn't name it the Secretariat or the Affirm. I'm like, we've had some pretty good 2-year-olds here. But the thing, talk about things changing, I think Bold Forbes and Foolish Pleasure won them in back-to-back years. Now a horse coming out of the Tremont, I'll call it today, called the Tremont tomorrow, so I get it right half the time. It's like people that spell a lot as one word in a note and then 2 words, and it's 2 words, but I'm going to get it right one of the 2 days. I'm going to call it the Tremont today and the Tremont tomorrow. But now, and it was 40 years ago, Track Baron was the first horse, Seth, to win the Tremont off of his career debut, a victory in the maiden special weights. I mean, they'd already run 5 times. The race would be late July, but Track Baron for Leroy, off his maiden, won the Tremont.
And then the fact of the matter is, these days also 2-year-olds win these races here in June and July. By the time you get to October and November, they're distant memories.
2-year-olds seem to be, and I think that this is kudos to the trainers. They know when they have the precocious ones, and they have to strike while the iron is hot, and distances get longer, and they know they're going up a hill.
And again, also tomorrow, Belmont Gold Cup, 2 miles on the turf, and as I said earlier, a win and you're in for the Melbourne Cup. And
now,
I hope somebody picks up the challenge.
I'm pretty sure it's on the inner turf, right? Because I was thinking it's easy. It's just 2 laps. It'd be on the inner because it'd be a mile, so they just do it twice. It's got to be on the inner turf.
It is on the inner.
Yeah, because they could just do 2 full. We're used to the mile races because I always like to think of the configurations.
And we're keeping our fingers crossed, obviously.
Oh, yes, we are.
But it looks like it's kind of moderated out. Tomorrow, I don't know, but it looks like things have kind of moderated out a little bit. So again,
like we say, as I often like to say in the summertime, let's run the races now. I mean, you can't imagine how beautiful it is right now.
It is a gorgeous day, certainly. Friday, another nice stakes day. Corn, but we'll kick the stakes section off on Friday with Intercontinental. Nice little turf sprint, coffee maker for Wesley Ward. A few years back, tried Royal Ascot, wasn't successful of there. Love Reigns, also for Wesley Ward, tried Royal Ascot a couple of years ago and wasn't successful, but they've turned out all right. But our friends at West Point have Gal in a Rush here, who I think is a little bit interesting. Roses for Deborah off the triple digit last time with Irad Ortiz for Christophe Clement. Probably the deserving morning line favorite.
You mentioned Just a Game. Did you mention that? I mean, one of my favorite races in America. I'm going to love it at the Spa. I love the races. I mean, Mr. Jerkin said to me, the winner and the 5 others that should have won.
The Just a Game, the notable thing here, the Just a Game. 7 entered, 5 of them Chad Brown.
Well, we're hoping that the 25-1 shot that Chad had winning down at Keeneland goes to the front. Now, one quick thing about the Intercontinental is, 5.5 furlongs. It is what it is. When you think about her, I think she gets lost, and it's a grade 2 now. You get a cold winter day, look up Intercontinental on Equibase. I think you'll be surprised at how outstanding she was. A time when Bobby Franco was really flying, and he seemed to have like 7. He was Chad Brown 1.0. Chad Brown's 2.0. He had like
Chad worked to work for Bobby.
There was a time when Bobby had like 5 or 7, middle distance turf fillies and Intercontinental, Heat Haze, Cafe Latte, Spanish Fern, and Intercontinental. Take a look at her someday. As I just kind of push Seth with Lamtara, you'd be like, I can see why they named a race after her. Now, of course, when I say that, I always think, why don't we have a secretary to firm for Seattle Slew? I don't understand the rhyme or reason. But
there are around the country. You got the affirmed out in Southern California. You got the secretary. Well, you used to have the secretary in Chicago, but
it's Virginia.
Now, right? Virginia. The New York also on Friday. This is a nice field in here, highlighted by Warlike Goddess. But 4-1 on the morning line hasn't been seen since getting beaten in the Breeders' Cup Turf when facing the boys. And also, she's 7 years old now. So Royal Interest for Chad is interesting. Fev Rover for Marquez, I think is interesting in there. Joe O'Brien brings over a Euro import, American Sonia. So McCulloch is in here. Didia, field of 13. I think a nice field of 13 in the New York.
I think in a way it's become almost the premier, that and the Diana, right?
Diana certainly.
The Flower Bowl has, suffered a grade 2 last year. Dylan Davis on the front end, 4-horse field, surprising him. But the New York has gone up in stature, I think, in the United States.
Well, this weekend, I think, has raised a lot of these races.
I think so, and rightfully so.
And highlighting Friday's action is the grade 1 Acorn for the 3-year-old fillies. And this is a pretty solid field, too. Torpedo Anna. And again, talk a little bit about that one with Kenny McPeak. You'll see that one a little bit later. Talked on Monday night about that one. Just FYI, off the second to Torpedo Anna in the Kentucky Oaks, and Gun Song coming out of the Black Eyed Susan. I think it's a nice field in the Acorn to highlight Friday's action.
I've mentioned this before, and this really plays into how the game has changed. For many years, the Philly Triple Crown, Philly Triple Tiara, the Acorn was the weak sister at the mile. And then the Mother Goose became like the premier race at 9 furlongs, because always before it was always the Coaching Club American Oaks. Matter of fact, the Mother Goose was the youngest by far. It used to be the Acorn. So, but now, and I'd say this has been going on really for about this century now, the Acorn has become probably one of the top 5 3-year-old filly races in America. And the Coaching Club American Oaks up here kind of gets overshadowed by the Alabama. So you have basically flip-flopping what, as I grew up mostly in the 80s, of what the Philly Triple Crown was like, that the Mother Goose and the Coaching Club American Oaks were the, big sisters. But now the Acorn is one of the great races in America.
And the Alabama is certainly premier up here.
Which is good, because the 1.25 miles, they stopped running that. The original distance for the distaff in the Breeders' Cup was 1.25 miles. But after 87, they're like, no, that's it. 1.1 miles. They shorted it up. But the Alabama has stood strong at 1.25 miles for the fillies, 3-year-old fillies.
All right. Why don't we take a quick break, and we'll come back and just take a quick look through the nice Saturday's card, stakes-wise, is phenomenal. So we'll take a quick break, and we'll come back in a couple. Take a look at the Saturday action. Stay tuned. It's been referred to as possibly the best equine-themed gift shop on the planet. Impressions of Saratoga. Impressions of Saratoga, celebrating the Saratoga and equestrian lifestyles. It's your #1 choice for Saratoga souvenirs, apparel, and gift shopping. We have gifts for the entire family, and we're pet-friendly too. Visit us online at impressionssaratoga.com or come on down. Impressions of Saratoga, 368 Broadway, downtown Saratoga.
For more than 4 generations, Bruce Cerrone and his family have continued the 102-year tradition of delighting their local following and faithful summer crowd with the finest authentic Italian recipes. Classic Italian dishes made with the freshest ingredients, served in a home-like setting. Some things have changed in the last 102 years, but not Pinnell's commitment to the finest in Italian cuisine. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, just minutes from the track.
A day at the track isn't complete without a night at the Horseshoe. Great food, hot music, and cold drinks. So why go downtown when all the action's just across from the track? The Horseshoe Inn at the corner of Nelson and Gridley.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Coming to you live from the backstretch of Saratoga, Clare Court, unheralded this morning.
It's back there.
But it's that's weeks away. How much over are you gonna let me talk? I don't want to impose.
Oh,
on
we
your
can go a
race.
few minutes. Yeah, we
Okay.
can go to 10 or whatever, something like
All right.
that.
Now, you knew. You
10.
You probably knew I was going to bring this up. How come this is Saratoga?
How come this is Saratoga?
Oh, Aqueduct's not Aqueduct, so.
Yeah,
How are kids going to find this stuff?
I looked at the PTs and I thought, oh, this is right up your alley.
Absolutely. How are people on Equibase 10 years from now going to find the races?
I thought exactly that.
What's up with that?
No, it's because clearly it is Belmont at Saratoga. If they're doing Belmont at Aqua, yeah.
More so than Belmont at Aqua. They're running the Belmont Stakes.
Yeah.
So if anything should be Belmont at whatever, but good luck. Because I will tell you this, I'm on Equibase I got tripped up trying to find races, and they have their own thing, Belmont at Aqueduct for when they run. So, but they've deemed this to be Saratoga. I'm pretty sure somebody took Marketing 101 and came up with that.
Yeah.
Apparently, Aqueduct doesn't have the cachet.
And that's going back to what Calder, which became Gulfstream West, which was a complete.
Well, there was a change in ownership, and they wanted to rebrand it.
Oh, but I think it was a complete marketing thing.
Absolutely.
They thought calling it Gulfstream West would have better cachet.
Yes, they want to call Gulfstream Park at Calder.
Very good. So coming up on Saturday, stakes action, the True North, and again, it is a really great stakes card. But this one,
yeah. How'd Skelly do the other day? By the way,
but
you laughing at me?
But you left him totally out though.
But I surrounded him. I have the first and third horse.
You didn't have the first horse on top.
No, I had it reversed. I had the first horse, the winner on third, and the third place.
But you had him out. That was more what I was getting at. You left him completely out. But he just got run off his feet. I mean, he ran great, but he got run off his feet. You could see maybe about the 16th ball. It's like
waters are getting deep. And what? But at what part did I get right? Was he 3 to 10?
Oh, I don't remember now.
He was like 1 to 5 on the board. Yeah, like I said, he's.
The True North, though, interesting, accretive in here. I always like that horse. Gun Pilot coming out of the nice win last time in the Churchill Downs. Gun It is interesting. But Baby Yoda at 17 to 1 the other day.
Now he can be himself, Baby Yoda, because it's long gone. That number.
That 17 to 1 looked legit last time, but he holds on to get it done last time. It was an optional claimer.
He has never come close to that 114.
Oh my God. But even the last time, it was like, wow, that was okay.
Of course, there'll always be a soft spot in my heart for poker, because that was Emmanuel last year that made 2 years. By the way, $48 and change.
Oh, nice.
The pressure is
the
enormous.
poker wasn't your big race, though. Your big race was the 2-year-old race with American Apple, right?
Yeah, well, it
wasn't the Futurity. It was the girls' version.
Well, the two that stick out, and I was doing this, it was also, how was it pronounced? Cohen paid $75 from the inside.
Yeah.
Those are the two horses that, I call Anthony Mormino 2.0 because I had a little hiatus and we came back. And since like May 17th of 22, you know, all things, you know, Del Mar in the summer at Saratoga, I'm plus $48.56. And Seth gave me a shout out on Twitter. Surprised Seth was able to find Twitter, but he did. He can't type on Twitter. I'm sure he can scroll on Twitter, but Seth doesn't put.
I tweet.
How many tweets in a year do you put out? I follow you, so don't lie. Your own original.
I would say I tweet at least 3 times a week, so 150.
I'm gonna be looking this up because I follow you, and all right. But he put it up when I had the matron, and I've said this before. She was 31 on the morning line. She didn't deserve to be 48 to 1. That was the people. But we have. We'll go. So the poker, a great race, and I think going to be even better here because I love the mile on the inner turfs.
And this is just going to be a fun race to root for our friend Lee Einstein. Casa Creed, 4
8
for
years
6
old
here at Saratoga. Last year at a mile on the Saratoga turf, he wins the 4-star Dave, and he did the same thing 2 years ago. So a mile on the Saratoga turf. But at 8 years old, we'll see what Casa Creed can do. Charlie Appleby has a runner, and Carl Spackler, very talented for Chad Brown. I think it's a fun, just another one of the really nice.
And for people that make fun of me not liking favorites, Carl Spackler in the Hall of Fame was one of my biggest bets of my life. I mean, it was a day. I mean, you can look it up on YouTube. I was jumping out of my skin, and I knew he'd be about 2 to 1, and he came back and won again, and he won his 4-year-old debut, right? So he's, you know, what was his debut? Did he win or lose?
Close up second.
Was it Farbridge? Yeah, that was one of the most talked about debut races for 2 horses at Gulfstream Park, middle of winter, etc. Carl Spackler has lived up. How do you think you'd live to see the day that the Suburban and the Met Mile would be the same day? I guess the handicap Triple Crown is over.
And this is not your grandfather's Suburban.
No, this is headed towards Grade 3.
Yeah, Ben Duke is maybe a little bit interesting for Belmont. Ben Duke, who hasn't started in stakes company since arriving in North America, he's probably the Charge It, I think, is possible.
Defending champ.
There's nobody who's kind of jumping off the page by any means in here. So
you put it best. It's not your father's Suburban.
The Ogden Phipps,
which used to be one of the great races in America. Independence Day, Classic American Distance.
Ogden Phipps for the Fillies and Mares going a mile and an 8. This is a field of only 6, but this is a quality bunch. Idiomatic. I thought she was really impressive Derby weekend in the seasonal debut. Raging Sea off the Keeneland Stakes win for Chad Brown. Randomized, very talented, pretty mischievous. Finished behind Idiomatic in that Churchill race. Idiomatic seems to have the edge.
Let me ask you a question since Brien Bouyea was just here. Has Idiomatic done enough for the Hall of Fame?
Probably.
Because you're a hard grader.
I know, yeah.
I respect that of you. I'm envious of it. I am a hard grader too, except we kind of. Do we disagree on Ghost Zapper, or did you give in eventually?
No, I gave in because it's just become a new world. I mean, at the time,
I understand that, but I thought
we were debating. We're on the cusp.
I was saying giving in because of his greatness. To me, you have to be
he was great. My argument was at that point I wasn't thrilled with abbreviated careers, but that has all changed.
Right.
So
I think Idiomatic is like
she's 10 for 13.
Right there
she has
on
a
the
string
fence.
of grade 1s.
Yeah.
So looks
Okay.
legit. The Woody Stevens, always one of the kind of fun races of the year.
Absolutely.
I think the subdivision. I like the subdivision. Everybody knows the subdivision of 3-year-olds on the turf, but 3-year-old sprinters over the past.
It's fantastic.
10.
See,
20 years.
this race, which was originally the Riva Ridge, was Naira's start in the early '80s of not, well, we got the Belmont Stakes, we don't need anything else. They pushed forth in the Riva Ridge one. And also, I wanted to mention not only that. So Naira was dark on Tuesday. They would have a stakes race like the genuine. They had stakes races. They had a completely different model. They were ahead of the curve. The Woody Stevens. So we're gonna have the Woody Stevens and we're gonna have the Alan Jerkins 2 7-furlong Grade 1 races for 3-year-olds this year.
Yeah, it's
Good stuff.
And this is a solid field of a dozen in here.
The
I'm really
Telefella.
looking forward to Bookham Dano. Who
Okay.
comes out of that win at Tampa, and that was a tough beat in the Saudi Derby. behind a really talented Forever Young, who just would not be denied.
We had
there.
a heartbreaking.
So Bookham Dano, I think, is interesting. Imagination is interesting. Off the poor performance in the Preakness, I'm intrigued that they went here. Nash, who had the big start to the career, I
think the only one you throw out would be the hopeful winner. No offense, Gary, but you're like, your buyers, I mean, first start of the year, grade 1.
And that's the tough part about that. But Nash had 2 starts back. I thought it was a nice little confidence builder. And I didn't think that the Pat Day Mile was bad necessarily. And then you look, he finished second to Seize the Gray. So, Bob Baffert also has Prince of Monaco in here. So a solid
tremendous race.
In the
I think we know people that had Nash in their early Kentucky Derby.
Oh,
loved them very much. And then there's the Jaipur next, which I talked about. Just a turf sprint at 5.5 this year up at Saratoga.
I liked Cogburn last time, but he was a little more attractive at the 8-1. Big Invasion for Dean Reeves and Christophe Clement, intriguing in here. Arzak, Thin White Duke, owned in part by Steve Christ and Phil Gleaves, going to be interesting. So,
Dancing Buck intrigues me at a nice price.
Charlie Appleby has a runner in there as well. Then the Met Mile.
One quick thing, because I doubt that he's watching. He's got much better things to do. But Chuck Simon, who put out, publicly, so he's feeling a little under the weather, etc. His great line that Charlie Appleby, American turf racing is his own personal ATM. Great line. And
should Chuck be watching?
Be
Chuck, we are sending
more
you
than pulling for you.
Yeah,
you can have some of my help.
Thoughts. Met Mile, field 6 in here. I'm intrigued to see how the betting shakes out.
So
Mario has been made the 6-5 morning line favorite, and National Treasure is 8-5. I'm not necessarily thinking they'll flip flop or anything, but I'm interested to see where they wind up. Blazing Sevens in here. Post time is a little bit intriguing as well. Again, a field of 6, but it's going to be fun and just fun to see. And it's also fun that it's coming out of the chute, which I think plays fairly fair.
We agree to disagree.
Okay, well, what is your take on the chute?
Not a fan. Not a fan
but
of
where
any
do you
chute
think
in America.
where do you think the advantage is or isn't? I mean, we've said it, and you watch the shot coming
I
out.
want it to hold for like 7-10 more seconds, and I think you'd see that the work you need to do on the outside to maintain, etc., would be confirmed.
But it's with 6 horses, do you?
It's less. But I'd rather have 3 than 6.
Yeah, no, Manhattan Grade 1 event on the turf, program trading in here.
Hey, look, 65 minutes between the Manhattan and the Belmont.
Measured time for Charlie Appleby, certainly going to take a lot. Nation's Pride.
I don't have an opinion in this race yet. Do you have one?
No.
They're all like 4-1.
Yeah. West Point has Ohana Honor, so Cortez for Clement, Michael Dove and company. And then the Belmont Stakes, and obviously we will talk plenty more about this over the next few days. But
I said this when Brian got off with you. I have never encountered a Triple Crown race that I am of the opinion, including protective, that all 10 could win. I will not bat an eyelash whomever crosses the finish line, first, second, or third. Because to me, whomever you say, I'd be like, I could see that. I hope I get a clear, fast racetrack, but I could tell you. And I was, mind frame. We talk about David Aragona being the finest morning line odds person. 3rd career start, he's 7-2. I'm like, David's the sharpest. So there you have it.
I totally agree there. So should be fun over the next few days. Again, just quickly.
There's never been anything like it.
Yeah,
how often in your life do you get to be in an environment where this is truly one of those moments when they say history will be made. I like when they say history will be made to be a Triple Crown winner. No, we've had them. This will be historic.
Yeah. Again, tomorrow, first post 12:50, gates open 11 a.m. 10 race program tomorrow, Friday.
10, 11, 14.
12 race program on Friday. 10:30 gates open, 12:20 post. Saturday, 14 race program that kicks off at 10:45. The gates will open Saturday at 9, and Sunday, New York Showcase Day, 10 race program, 12:50 post time, 11 a.m. The gates open up. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. Very, very special. I mean, all that's left really is the weather. NYRA has produced tremendous racing for us, plenty of action. I mean, you know, I've said this for really like 2 weeks. I think it makes for a great horse race at 1.25 miles. I think 1.5 miles, there's a lot to be said if you win the Triple Crown, that you win at 1.5 miles. I believe in that. But I know it sounds probably silly, but if no Triple Crown on the line, just make it 1.25 miles. I think it'd be a better horse race, and I think it'd be better for the horses, going forward. The guy, trainer would be like, well, this is good. I got a natural bridge. So who do you have next?
All right.
We'll
do the tapes we did.
Tapes.
On Monday night at the draw. Again, we have Todd Fletcher, Chad Brown, Ken McPeak, Danny Garrigan, some of the contenders in the
Who's better than you?
Big race. So
Who says no? Who says no?
And Tim Wilkin will join us a little bit later on. Tim's been bouncing around the backstretch for a couple of weeks now, doing some work for TDN. So we'll talk to Tim and get some of his impressions on the upcoming week. And that's all going to be just after we take the break. Thanks for sticking around a little longer today. We stuck Brien in. He would have normally been in the 10 o'clock hour, but he couldn't make it. But I wanted him to talk about that.
My wife would say, wow, you gave him more time to talk. Wow. And he used it. What a surprise. But, I guess relax today, put your feet up, handicap the cards. What a great difference. All the cards are out. This is beautiful. No excuses. Play like a champion. He stays, I go. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you back here tomorrow morning.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.